here.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
That thing looks like it should be illegal.
Where they run up
That big vape monster. I mean, it's like, if I would have had something like that in the 70s, I'd have 0 brain cells left.
Careful, she can
James Bond. Okay, my name's Chuck Hudson. I'm the leader and one of the founders of Mountain Haven Kindred. And I also teach a hybrid of medicine, a combination of herbal medicine, what we call ditch medicine as a combat medic, and then what I learned as an EMT, being an EMT paramedic. I let that license expire. I am past the age now, and I'm old enough now to know I can't physically do it anymore. So you heard the old adage, those that can do, those that can't teach. I'm teaching. Pull up a chair. I love this dog. We're taking her home. She had Tira. I can't have my Tira dog. But herbal medicine, this is not so much a class on this herb does this herb does that. It's just kind of information about it. The biggest thing about herbal medicine is just because it's natural does not mean it's safe. Okay, majority of our, about 74% of our modern pharmacopoeia comes from plants. Who's heard of the drug Tamiflu? See all the ads on it? Guess where it comes from? Star anise. Till 2013, Tamiflu was made from star anise. The only place it grows in huge quantities, China. China figured out that they're losing billions of dollars by selling it as a spice instead of as a drug, embargoed it, and I think it's either SmithKline or Pfizer, I forgot who makes it, finally figured out how to synthesize what's called sigeric acid, the active ingredient. But most of our medication, even today, still comes from plants. The thing about it, though, is a lot of our plants, the plant medicine, is very, very reactive with modern medicine. A good example would be a thing, you see it on TV all the time, and it's called St. John's wort. St. John wort cures this, cures that, cures the other. Well, problem is, St. John's wort, when you mix it with antidepressants, let's do that general category like that, is fatal. It can be fatal. It can cause a very, very nasty brain reaction and kill you. You know, another thing that people confuse is homeopathic and herbal. There's a big difference between the two. Homeopathic medicine uses a lot of time toxins in proper amounts to adjust a body function that's out of alignment, out of adjustment, or just not doing right. Belladonna is a common one. There's a pill years and years ago called Humphreys. We gave them to babies. Humphreys teething tablets. It contained belladonna. And that's not the reason it got pulled from the market. It got pulled from the market for some other stuff, but used properly, even toxins work very well, but I stay away from them. So what I teach is how to take what's going around here. Like right now, you got a huge bandage machine right above you. The pinon pine, or any of the pine trees. They're antibiotic, and also they make a very, very good bandage. You can use it if you got a deep wound. You can use the pinon pine, the pinon sap, put on each side of the wound, and then take cloth and bind the wound together. And you'll have both an antibiotic and an adhesive. Now, let me tell you, it's entertaining to get it off, especially if you've got hairy arms. You will be in for some fun to get it off. Because only a couple things get it off. Kerosene. Acetone does pretty good like that. And acetone's not as bad as kerosene. And hot soapy water and a scrub brush. But pinon, the pinon pine tree, but any of the pines, their sap is a natural antibiotic. It is also a natural adhesive. In fact, we use pine sap in modern medicine today. Tincture of benzoin from the benzoin pine of the Mediterranean. We use it as a natural adhesive. Whenever we do a pressure dressing, I'll paint that stuff on you, stretch an elastic bandage over the top of that there, and you will not bleed. Down in here, we got cottonwoods. See the big cottonwood? That one's dead over there. But everybody's heard that willow bark makes salicylic acid, makes aspirin. But what's not well known is the entire family of popular species. The willows, the birches, the cottonwoods, they all have different amounts of salicylic acid, and they work really good in there. Juniper. We got 3 species of juniper right in this area right here. This guy, kind of behind us with this one right here is Western red cedar. It's not a true juniper. The one behind, I'm sorry, this is juniper. The one behind us, see it's the kind of the droopy, bluish, scaly leaves on it? That's Western red cedar. Excuse me, in my English, I forgot how to speak it. But all of those, they produce a berry, the juniper berry. The juniper berry is, one, it makes good gin. But also, 2, on lady problems, it helps with cramping. It helps with the hormonal shifts and controlling the mood swings a little bit. It's not like, like, hey, take a Midol. It doesn't work like that. It works in a different form of the hormone system. Those little things like that, Out here in the back over here, we got wild sage growing. Wild sage is a fantastic, I got my helper today. Wild sage is multiple uses. One of them is a very powerful antibiotic. And sage is also in the same family. Who was here last night had some of Bill's absinthe? Who had too much of it? But especially Bill.
I couldn't give the rest of it away, so I had to drink it.
But sage is in the same family as wormwood. It's the same family. And it makes a very, very powerful antibiotic, but if used incorrectly like we did last night, it has some very detrimental effects. But what's nice about sage is there are 5 different varieties that grow right here in these mountains. But they all are the same genus, and it's one of the few plants that they all can do the same thing. Some sages, like silver sage, it's got long feathery fronds on it, and it's a bright silvery blue on that. That one is you most commonly see as a smudge stick. You see that one most of the smudge stick. Then you see blue sage. That's the one you see growing along the interstate. Oh, here, it's got wider leaves and all that. That one is your better cooking spice. Then you got a kind of a bluish green. They call it green sage. It grows really well along western New Mexico. That is your primary antibiotic. Those things like that, they can work by either making what we call a tincture, which is a combination of alcohol and the plant. And you'll look at herbal books and you'll see formulas and tables and charts. The easiest way to make a tincture: take a mason jar, fill it loosely full with plant material, fill it with alcohol, cap it, put it away for 6 weeks.
White alcohol.
Exactly, Jacob's right, white alcohol. By white alcohol, I mean white rum, white tequila, vodka, white whiskey. You don't want the only one dark liquor that you can use to make a medicine with is brandy. A good example is a good friend of mine. He saw the error of his ways, and unfortunately he became Mormon. I give him hell about that. He got in a fist fight a few years ago in a bar. Hit a guy in the mouth multiple times. Ripped his hand open. Calls me up. Hey, can I put alcohol in my hand to clean it out? I said, yeah, but just click. Don't use dark liquor. He poured Jack Daniels on it. John Wayne did it. Clint Eastwood did it. Next day, he had red streaks running up his arm. But Jack Daniels is 45% alcohol. Vodka is only 40% alcohol. Do you know why he got an infection? How does Jack Daniels taste?
Yeah, it's the sugars in it.
It's sweet. It's got natural sugars in it from the oak barrel. The sugar in that lower concentration combined with blood is the same stuff that I use to grow out bacteria cultures at work. Yes, sir.
Wouldn't white rum then also be a problem?
It depends on the distillation. Like a triple distilled white rum works really well, but for some reason the white one is, I think, this is just my guess, I think it's the tannic acid from the aging. Like, see, most rum's made from sugar cane, but when you distill it out all the way into the white form of it, the pure form of it, see, because brown rums are re-aged. in either sugar line casks or oak casks or stuff like that, and that's where they get the brown color from them. The white rum, it's like white corn liquor. Corn is one of the highest sugar plants on the planet, but corn whiskey, even if diluted, and same with potato vodka, there's no residual sugar left in it. Like if you take a drink of 150 of Myers spiced rum or even Bacardi Gold, then take the same Bacardi White. The Bacardi White will have a harder burn to it because there's just no residual sugar in it. But like I said, he had to go to the hospital. He almost lost his arm from hitting the guy in the mouth and playing John Wayne. You just don't believe the cowboy movies. Okay? One of my classes I teach, we teach Jacob and I, and actually Jacob is 18. He's been my assistant instructor for what, almost 10 years? Since he was about 8 years old, he's been teaching with me. He's actually taken the EMT paramedic exam and got a 97 on it without even going to school. But we teach a class called, we call it wilderness medic, but it used to be called a battlefield combat medic. And we still teach it, and what I'll do is I'll take a pork shoulder. We'll wrap it up really tight in blue jeans, and we'll shoot it. About 10 yards, a couple of different calibers. And if you go on my website, the Medic Shack, you'll see the last one we did. And we show people what actual bullet holes do to people. I mean, it's real tissue. But also, too, though, is like what happens if you're out, and not you shot or anything, but you're out running through the woods, like this knucklehead did, fell down and ripped himself from here to here. How are you going to clean that out? Here in the West, which we're very lucky, we got a variety of plants. For you folks that live in southern Arizona, it is all over the place. We call it chaparral here in New Mexico. You guys call it greasewood. You know, the little greasewood plant down there, it's got in the spring when it rains once every 20 years. You get those really pretty yellow flowers on it. The leaves are little bitty ovals, waxy looking. Take the leaves, crush them up, bring about a cup of water to a boil, put a handful of the leaves in it, let the boiling water, don't boil them, just let it steep for 5 minutes. You got a chemical called berberine. Berberine is one of the most potent topical antibiotics that's even rivaling tea tree. If you're diabetic, berberine has been used in Germany for the last 4 years, replacing 2 drugs called metformin and glucophage with less side effects. Some good studies on that. So when you think about herbal medicine, you got to get away from the image that was projected by the herbal medicine practitioners in the 1970s and the 1980s. Dude, man, this is what you really need. Also, you got to get away from the snake oil vendors. If anybody's listened to my radio show, my co-host and I, Kat Ellis, have a reputation in the herbal world of being hateful to essential oils. And that is not true. Essential oils have a very, very good place. They just don't have a good place in a long-term, sustainable medical plan. And by that I mean a poop hits the fan. Whether you be zombie apocalypse, it'd be meteor strike, it'd be government insurrection, or one of the most common poop hits the fan is you lose your job. People don't consider that until it actually happens to them. But essential oils have a very short shelf life, about a year. I mean, these plants, when I use these plants, they only have a shelf life of about a year. But I can go gather more plants the next year. Essential oils, to make 1 ounce of, say, lavender essential oil, takes 20 pounds of flowers. And you need to have a method to steam distill it. But they work very, very well. They are fantastic to use, but where we get the reputation is because of a couple of companies that use people's fears, people's prejudices, and people's religion to sell their product. Last year, 2 companies, not last year, 2 years ago, remember the big Ebola scare 2014? We had 2 cases, yeah! Guess what? In New Mexico, we had 64 cases of bubonic plague, but that didn't make the national news. 18 people died. Hey, no problem. You know, bubonic plague, Ebola, yeah, right. Grow up a little bit. Let's talk about killing people. But they were advertising their proprietary blend of oils with either prevent you from getting it or cure you of Ebola. And the FDA, thank goodness, which I hate the FDA, came down on them with both feet, which was good. The same company, about 8 months later, decided, okay, this isn't working, so they brought out a biblical reference. Frankincense and myrrh, two very good essential oils. They are very good oils. Bring the power of the Holy Land into your life. The same oils that Moses used. Okay, steam distillation of essential oils didn't happen until the 17th century. But now infused oils, that's a different story. And they are right. They are fantastic oils, but see, you got to watch out for those people. The snake oil salesmen of the 1800s that want to come in, they want to take your money, and they might make you better. More than likely, they're going to make you sick. And that's what there are practitioners that try to teach you the right way to use them. I mean, you can go out there and like that cottonwood back there, you got a headache, and so I'm going to go chew the bark of that cottonwood because Chuck said so. Well, which part of the bark? Outer, middle, ending, the cambium layer? That's the stuff that we try to teach, and it is a cambium layer. The last layer of bark just before the wood, that's the part you want. That's the one that has the aspirin in it. Birch is better. There's a bunch of birch that goes up in these mountains here too. But that's what we teach. And that's what I try to bring to people on how to properly combine modern medicine with the herbal medicine. Like today, I had a young lady, she had a very hurt mouth and all that. I was feeling lazy, so I went and got her a thing called meloxicam. It's a very strong NSAID. It's similar to hyperstrength ibuprofen. If I would have had a time, I would have went out and found some sage, found some mint, and found some mullein, made a poultice of it, and packed a lip with it, and it would have done the same thing. It would kill the pain. But just because, you know, like one of my doctors says, well, why are you teaching people how to use that stuff in the 14th century? It didn't work then, it doesn't work today. I said, well, not exactly true. And we got into the argument about the modern pharmacy being mostly from plants today. No, it's not. And I used the Tamiflu example on my director. Well, he stomped off. And then he finally said, well, it still doesn't matter. It didn't work in the 14th century. I said, because the 14th century, they're trying to excise spirits, humors, and vapors. Now, I know the streptococcus causes an infection. It's not an evil spirit. And we can tailor a different plant, a different part of plant to that. I thought you had a question. And also, don't ask me stuff. That's what I do. I'm like Vince. I like to talk. He talks about alcitrue. I talk about herbs. Now, you can also talk about alcitrue. I can talk about the connection between the two if you really want. But
Talk about some herbs that give you a better connection between them.
yeah, we can do that too. One of the last things I want to talk about during this thing here is our modern medical. This is my personal opinion and the opinion of a lot of practitioners, and not so many doctors, but PAs and herbal practitioners and a lot of nurses and all that. Modern medicine today is not designed to make you better. Majority of medicine isn't. It's designed to maintain. Hypertension. 60% of hypertension can be cured, well actually, 40% of hypertension can be cured by a 15-minute procedure in a cardiac cath lab. It's a little expensive, but we can put a stent. A stent looks like a little culvert inside the renal artery. And guess what? You got no more hypertension because 40% of hypertension is from narrowed or stenosed renal arteries. We can fix that. But doctors don't send people to us for that because they make more money, and pharmaceutical companies make more money by selling you lisinopril or metoprolol. Okay, fine with that. Another bad one is diabetics, especially type 2 diabetics. Type 2 diabetes, if we would have discovered how to do one thing different in 1915, diabetics would be treated totally differently today than they are now. 1915, we learned how to measure the amount of sugar, of glucose, in urine and blood. And we've been basing, for the last 100 years, diabetics' status and treatment on that. 2014, some smart guy figured out, you know what if we use ketones? Whoa! Well, to fix the ketone problem in a diabetic, it's real easy. You don't give them drugs. You change your diet. And one of the things that we preach, and I preach it a lot, is food is medicine. A lot of the crap that we eat today is not food. It's stuff that sustains us and kind of keeps us going. But if you look at a lot of stuff, and I don't care whether you're against or for GMOs and all that, I'm just talking about our basic food. 2013, Scientific American found seeds from a seed vault, in Norway. They got out seeds, blue lake green bean, broccoli, radish, zucchini squash, non-hybrid corn, just a regular yellow dent kernel corn, and they matched them to the same plants of today. Guess what? The plants from 1950 had an average between 20 to 40% more nutrients than the same plant today. The Scientific American did that in 2013. And a part of it is our dirt. We don't care for the earth. You want to grow more vegetables? Let's put more chemicals on it. We didn't use as many chemicals. You know what our primary fertilizer was in 1950? Horse shit. Cow shit. Excuse my language. Manure. It was liquefied manure. If anybody's been to Europe and driven through Germany in March, it is one of the most fragrant spots in the planet. Because you'll see tractors out there aerial spraying liquid manure over the fields. The same with France. And look at the French and look at the Germans. They eat a very high-fat diet. They drink massive amounts of alcohol. They smoke. Everything that our doctors say don't do, but they outlive us by about an average of about 5 to 7 years. And not just live, they live better than we do. Because they realize that they can only grow so much food in this one spot. And, well, they're not going to force their land to grow more than it can. They'll just go and they'll get more land. They'll clear more forest to grow more food. And they'll balance in between growing in between the forests instead of leveling them. And so that's what I do. That's what I teach. I teach people how to try to take care of yourself. Because that is our faith. One of the greatest tenets of being heathen is that, correct or incorrect, however you see it, I bow down before no man or God. There's your different ways of looking at it. I got a different view on that than a lot of other people, except I know one other person has the same view and I on that. But shouldn't taking care of yourself include taking care of your own health and learning about how to do it? And it doesn't have to be a fortune to do it. I got some friends of mine that are elderly that have, for one reason or another, lost their Part D Medicare. Part D pays for your prescriptions. Medicare itself doesn't pay for prescriptions. So I try to help them balance out their medical needs with what they can afford, with what they can get out of the grocery store. And isn't that what being heathen is being able to take care of yourself and take care of your family? So, any questions on what I do, who I am, anything at all? I'm kind of a little short because I started late. I don't want to cut into Elleren's class because hers is an important one. But next time you're in a grocery store, pick up a book on what that food actually is. Yes, ma'am.
What books would you recommend for someone just starting?
Too bad. Catch me a little bit later. I got some up in my truck. One book that I got actually 3 copies of it. I got an electronic copy. I got a copy that's my desk reference, that's dog-eared, and I got one that's vacuum sealed in what's called a bug-out bag. It's called Prepper's Natural Medicine. It's by my co-host. Just because she's my co-host, I'm not pimping her book, is because I consider this book gear. Like I do my knife, my sidearm, my wits. I consider it gear. Prepper's Natural Medicine. All of us here live in the Southwest. Another book, it's in print, it's expensive, but you can find it real easily on what's called Goodreads and these other used book dealers, is Natural Medicines of the Southwest by Michael Moore. It's not the same one that makes all the goofy movies. It's Medicines of the Southwest by Michael Moore. And what it does, it has it geographically. Like last week, we were in Arizona teaching a class. And it's in an area that is not this altitude, but where I live at in Edgewood, about 6,500 feet, high desert prairie, mostly pinon juniper forest. None of the plants that I use grow in that forest. I had to go looking for them in other places. So this book, Michael Moore's book, it gives you the actual geographic location of where they grow in Arizona, California, New Mexico, and Texas. But those two books are invaluable and they actually have, both books here have recipes. Kat's book, her recipes are geared toward people in the Northeast. I've done some of her stuff and I've modified them to stuff that grows more here in the West. Because there's some of the plants that she uses for antibiotics don't grow here. But those two books, I think, are probably about the best two out there. I mean, you could spend thousands of dollars on books, but get by with spending $20 on those two books together, and you will find yourself well served. And if you want to explore after that, there are hundreds of books out there, but those two right there will get you through 99% of anything here in the Southwest, from Eastern California all the way down to probably the Gulf of Mexico in Texas. Any questions, folks? Thank you so much for your time. You know, this is what I love to do. I love to teach and I love to talk. If you want them, I got my cards. You can have it. Email me or go to our website or Facebook me or whatever. You know, ask questions. I'm happy to ask questions on anything about this. Again, thank you, folks.
Thank you, Joey.
Thank you, Chuck.